It all started one summer afternoon. Riya, a shy girl from a small town, sat quietly in the corner of her classroom. The school was big, with bright walls and noisy students. But Riya preferred the silence. She didn't like to speak much, especially in English. Even though she had been learning English since she was young, the words never came easily. They felt like heavy stones in her mouth, too difficult to lift. Her classmates seemed so confident. They raised their hands, spoke loudly, and laughed with each other. Riya admired them but also feared them. She feared that if she spoke, she would make a mistake. She feared they would laugh at her or not understand her. So, she stayed quiet. At home, her mother noticed her daughter's quietness. "Why don't you practice speaking more, Riya?" she asked one evening. "I know you are good at writing English. You do well on your exams. But speaking is important too." Riya nodded but didn't reply. Her mother's words were kind, but they didn't change the fear inside her. She was not confident. She felt as if English was a distant place, a country she could see from far away but could never visit. One day, something happened that would change everything. The school announced an English-speaking competition. Students from all classes could join. They had to give a short speech in English about any topic they liked. Riya's teacher, Mrs. Kumar, encouraged everyone to participate. "I want to see all of you try," Mrs. Kumar said, looking around the classroom. "This is a chance to improve your skills. Don't worry about being perfect. Just give it your best effort." Riya felt her stomach twist. A speaking competition? That was the last thing she wanted. She looked down at her desk, hoping Mrs. Kumar wouldn't notice her. But Mrs. Kumar had already seen Riya's quiet behavior many times before. After class, she walked up to Riya and smiled. "Riya, I think you should participate in the competition." Riya's eyes widened. "Me? But I can't. I'm not good at speaking English." Mrs. Kumar shook her head gently. "You are better than you think. You just need practice. Why don't you try? I will help you." Riya wanted to say no. She wanted to run away. But there was something about Mrs. Kumar's words that made her pause. Her teacher believed in her. Maybe, just maybe, she could try. The next week, Riya started preparing for the competition. She chose a topic close to her heart, her love for books. Riya had always been a reader. Books were her escape, her comfort. She loved the way they opened doors to different worlds, teaching her new things and letting her imagine adventures. Each day after school, Riya practiced her speech in front of the mirror. She would speak slowly, trying to pronounce each word clearly. First, it was difficult. She stumbled over the words, her voice shaking. But with each practice session, she improved a little. Her voice became stronger, and the words started to flow more easily. Mrs. Kumar also helped her. After class, she would sit with Riya, correcting her pronunciation and giving her tips. "Speak from your heart," she said. "Don't focus too much on grammar. Just try to communicate your feelings." Riya practiced and practiced. Slowly, her fear started to fade. The more she spoke, the more confident she became. It wasn't easy, but she was improving. Finally, the day of the competition arrived. Riya stood backstage, waiting for her turn. Her heart was beating fast, and her hands were sweaty. She could hear the other students giving their speeches. Some spoke confidently, while others were nervous like her. But no matter how they spoke, The audience clapped for everyone. That gave Riya a little hope. When her name was called, she took a deep breath and walked onto the stage. The bright lights were shining in her eyes, and the room was full of students, teachers, and judges. Riya felt her knees shake, but she tried to focus. She looked at Mrs. Kumar, who was sitting in the audience, smiling at her. With one more deep breath, Riya began her speech. At first, books were just stories to me, but over time they became my friends. Each book is like a different person, teaching me something new. As she spoke, Riya's nervousness slowly melted away. She wasn't thinking about making mistakes anymore. She wasn't thinking about the audience or the judges. She was thinking about books, the way they made her feel, the way they gave her courage when she felt alone. By the time she finished, Riya realized that she had spoken the whole speech without stumbling. The audience clapped, and Riya smiled for the first time that day. She had done it. After the competition, Riya didn't care about winning or losing. What mattered was that she had found her voice. She had faced her fear, and that was a victory in itself. Mrs. Kumar came up to her after the event and gave her a hug. "I'm so proud of you, Riya," she said. "You were wonderful." "Thank you," Riya replied, her heart full of gratitude. "I didn't think I could do it, but now I know I can." From that day on, Riya changed. She started speaking more in class, even when she wasn't sure of the right words. She still made mistakes sometimes, but she didn't let them stop her. She knew that the only way to get better was to keep trying. Her classmates also noticed the change. Some of them asked her for help with their English homework, and Riya gladly helped them. She realized that learning a language wasn't just about getting everything perfect. It was about communication, about sharing ideas and feelings. Months later, Riya gave another speech at school. This time, it wasn't for a competition. It was for fun. The school was celebrating English Week, and students were invited to share something in English, poems, stories, or experiences. Riya chose to talk about her journey with English, from her days of silence to finding her voice. She spoke about her fears, her mistakes, and the moment she decided to be brave. She wanted to inspire others who were like her, quiet, shy, and afraid to speak. "Don't be afraid to use your voice," she told them. "English, or any language, is just a tool to express what's in your heart. The more you use it, the better you get. And remember, it's okay to make mistakes. That's how we learn." After her speech, several students came up to her, thanking her for her words. One girl, younger than Riya, said shyly, "I'm scared to speak English too. But after listening to you, I think I'll try." Riya smiled and nodded. "You should. I was just like you. If I can do it, so can you." From that moment on, Riya was no longer the quiet girl in the corner. She had found her voice, and she was ready to use it. Every day, she grew more confident, more fluent, and more comfortable with English. It wasn't perfect, but it was hers.